This weekend, U.S. President Donald Trump announced a 10% across-the-board increase in tariffs on Canadian goods, a move that shocked both economists and diplomats. The reason? A TV ad from the Ontario government that used Ronald Reagan's words against trade tariffs. Trump called it fraudulent advertising, insisting Reagan actually loved tariffs. But how did a single ad spark a new trade fight between two of the world's closest allies? Let's break it down. The U.S. and Canada share one of the most deeply integrated trading relationships on the planet. Every day, more than $2 billion worth of goods cross their border, from auto parts and lumber to energy and food. But the relationship has been tense since early 2025, when Washington began re-evaluating the USMCA, the trade deal that replaced NAFTA. Trump had already imposed targeted tariffs on Canadian aluminum and dairy, arguing that Canada was taking advantage of U.S. farmers and manufacturers. Ottawa responded with symbolic countermeasures, but both sides had settled into a kind of uneasy truce, until now. When Ontario launched its new advertising campaign, that truce collapsed overnight. The ad in question came from the provincial government of Ontario, led by Premier Doug Ford. It aired during the World Series broadcast in the U.S., ensuring millions of Americans would see it. In the spot, a black-and-white clip of Ronald Reagan plays from a 1987 radio address. Reagan warns that tariffs are, quote, just another word for taxes, and they hurt working Americans. The ad ends with a simple tagline: free trade means jobs, tariffs mean trouble. According to reports, the campaign cost roughly 75 million Canadian dollars and was meant to highlight the economic damage of recent U.S. tariffs on Canadian industries. Trump's reaction was immediate and furious. He called the ad fake and fraudulent, accusing Canada of distorting Reagan's views. In a Truth Social post he wrote, "Reagan loved tariffs. Canada should stop interfering in American trade policy." Just hours later, from the White House lawn, he announced a new 10% tariff on all Canadian imports. So what does this new 10% increase actually mean? In practice, the White House hasn't yet published a complete list of affected goods, but early indications suggest it covers non-essential imports such as processed foods, consumer goods, and auto components not covered by USMCA exemptions. For Canadian exporters, it's a major blow. Many had already seen their profit margins shrink under previous tariffs. For American consumers, it could mean higher prices on everyday items, from maple syrup to car parts. Economists warn that if the tariffs remain in place, the impact could ripple through supply chains and cost jobs on both sides of the border. In Ottawa, the reaction was cautious but firm. Prime Minister Mark Carney said the federal government had no role in the Ontario ad and urged Washington to avoid escalation. He emphasized Canada's willingness to negotiate but ruled out any economic blackmail. Doug Ford, meanwhile, initially defended the ad, saying it was meant to educate Americans on the value of free trade. However, after the backlash, his office confirmed the campaign would be paused once the current ad slots ended. Trump, for his part, has refused to meet with Carney at the upcoming Asia-Pacific summit, calling the Prime Minister weak on trade. Behind the scenes, U.S. diplomats have expressed concern that this latest dispute could undermine cooperation on energy and border security, areas where both nations rely heavily on each other. So what happens now? There are a few possible outcomes. Retaliation. Canada could respond with its own tariffs, likely targeting U.S. agricultural exports. Negotiation. Both sides might quietly seek a compromise, especially if the economic fallout worsens. Escalation. The dispute could expand beyond trade, straining diplomatic and military cooperation. Analysts note that this conflict is as much political theater as economic policy. Trump's message plays well with parts of his base that favor protectionism, while Ford's government benefits domestically by appearing to stand up to Washington. What started as a single ad has now become a full-blown trade controversy, one that exposes how fragile the U.S.-Canada relationship can be when politics mix with economics. Whether this dispute ends in negotiation or escalation will depend on the coming weeks and on how far both leaders are willing to go. If you want to stay informed on how this story develops, from new tariffs to retaliation, make sure to subscribe and follow the World Brief for updates on global trade and geopolitics. And tell us in the comments, do you think this new round of tariffs will help U.S. workers or just make things worse for both sides?